Welcome back to another episode of the Inset Career. I'm with, this time, Lucy. Lucy, poor Lucy, has to live in California. It's such a rough life.
Such a rough life.
So Lucy is, um, according to your name, Lucy and I have known each other for a while, but according to her name, she's Lucy Hospitality. So
Absolutely.
you've got a few years in the hospitality industry.
I sure have.
So
So,
how did you get into that? What is your focus?
so this is relevant to your listeners, I
Good.
believe. So, one of my first jobs, like real jobs, was with educational publishing, small family-owned business, and I was really computers were just starting. That's how old I am. And so I just got along with computers. So every part of the business that we got a new computer kind of system, I moved through. So I did everything from publishing layouts and the running the whole business and all that. And I just became passionate about business
Mm.
and small family owned businesses, to be honest with you, is always what I've worked for. So, but this business was owned by a couple, and that fellow was a former teacher, and it was all things for teachers to use in the classroom back when they had ditto machines and all that. Anyway, um,
People don't
so
even know what those are anymore, the
I know.
mimeographs and
Anyway,
stuff.
that's anyway. But in this family, there were five sons, and then there was me. So I
Wow.
just knew the writing on the wall. So I left the company, and I had a mentor in that company that was, really helpful to me in terms of advancing my career and encouraging me to, follow my leadership path. And so I quit that and I moved to Northern California, where my parents at the time, it was like a crazy thing to do, but they bought a Victorian and turned it into a bed and breakfast inn in a small
Wow.
town in the wine country. And so I went there to basically apply to graduate school and take some classes I needed for that. And that's kind of how it started. And then I went on to, I got my MBA at UCLA Anderson, and then did a few things after that, including I'll tell a story about that, about working in the real world. But ultimately, uh, started my own business with my husband, and then relocated back to Northern California, started helping my family business, and ended up just passionate about where I live and just small business in general and determining your own destiny,
Mm,
which I
yeah.
know is relevant to most of your clients and audience. So,
Yes. Because too many of us have just accepted the I'll put in air quotes the rule that you're supposed to work a specific job or stay in a specific career for the whole time and then retire and then you get to do what you want. And I realized, no, you don't. You don't have to do that.
well, many of my fellow alumni from my business school, they would say, I don't get it, Lucy. You went to business school, crackpot business school, and then you went to work with your parents. And I said, yeah, you guys are all working 60, 80 hours a week. So someday you can have my life in the wine
Right.
country. It's like, anyway. So I just traded that in. I had my own businesses alongside doing the hospitality thing, but anyway, but yeah,
Okay.
we think it's the way to be, quote, successful. We think
Mm.
it's the way to support our families. You probably talked to quite a few people that are afraid to quit because they won't have health insurance.
Mm, yeah.
To me, that's just crazy. But anyway,
That
it's,
health insurance would keep you in a job you hate. Is that what you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
some people, they're very scared about that, at least
Yeah.
when I talk to him. So anyway,
Well, it's true because, well, I'm not going to get conspiratorial,
okay.
but there is a insurance is really is designed for catastrophic events, and
Hmm.
that's not what it's grown into. And yeah, there's been some great, I'm going to call it a campaign. I don't know that it was necessarily intentional or organized, but there's been a great campaign that taught generations that success is going to school, getting good grades so you can go to college, so you can get good grades, so you can get a job, so you can work there for 60 years and then get your gold watch. And they call it safe. And
It's not safe.
it's not safe.
It's like, well, even your situation, you're kind of at the mercy of all this organization or a poor boss
Yeah.
who's dictating your life. And when you work for yourself, you just can yell at yourself for all the terrible conditions you're under, you know?
Right.
So,
And one of the questions, so I'm going to throw this out because it's a question I get all the time. Well, how can you make money if you don't have an employer? So you've got bed and breakfast. I know you've been involved in hospitality. Your content that I see on social media is fantastic
oh,
about
thank you.
things that people do or don't do, ways that you can really change a guest's experience with.
Yeah.
I think you had one that was, I don't remember how many seconds, but a couple seconds that will change a guest's experience. And and for me, that makes a lot of sense. And it's not necessarily something that I would have thought of. But for sure, I would imagine that comes from years and years of experience in the field, in the industry. So was this something that just kind of you rolled into? You got your
Basically.
parents did the Airbnb
Yeah,
or
my husband and I started a business and we lived out of state and we had a auction business. I'm an auctioneer. Now I just mainly do nonprofit auctions, trying
how
to
did I
raise a
not know this
million
about
dollars
you?
for nonprofits. I'm about three-quarters of the way there.
Nice.
So it's a skill that I have that's alongside. And then I also had a direct sales business with women's clothing. So, but you know, we, like a lot of entrepreneurs, my husband and I had a failure in our business out of state, moved and started over again, which is very difficult, but I'm alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, my parents built a second inn and home down in Mexico, so they were gone for like half the winter to 6 week stints, and I started helping them out. And I just realized, gosh, I just love this. And my parents were really good examples for me as well. My mom was a very shy person. And I thought, how is this going to work anyway? Because she was that shy,
Hmm.
but she was in her own home and she was cooking, which she was amazing at. And then my dad was always the life of the party and super into wine and loved to chat. And then I just like between all my businesses, which were all people serving businesses, just realized that it's funny in the innkeeping world, people go, oh, I love people and I love to cook. Well, I love people. I cannot cook. So it's like, I don't know how I made it, but I know how to make breakfast. Anyway, but I just, and then when I sold my business and as I've, become taking on clients and stuff, I've realized how hospitality is just, it can be like, Ken, you're really good at it. It can be a way to change someone's life. Like I
Yeah.
had one story that I haven't told that much on social, but I had this couple, I checked them into one of our most romantic private rooms, and and they didn't come to breakfast, which is always like a scary thing for an innkeeper because it's like, oh, what's wrong? And when they came to check out, they said, oh, we want to talk to you. And I'm like, just like, but they said, I mean, this is just so, they said, we wanted to thank you because you provided a place where we made the decision to end our marriage and we worked out all the details. I mean,
Wow.
it was so sad, but it was so like, you just don't know how you can serve people by offering hospitality, you know?
Yeah.
And, someone comes into your restaurant and they're like rude and whatever. You don't know why they're doing that. Your job is to be nice to them and serve
Right.
them. And I also believe that especially with servers and we live in like in fast food places and all sorts of places that by making someone else's day, you can make your own day. And I know you can are like that with giving out your cakes. I mean, it's just when you can have someone light up, it lights you up. And that's what
100%.
I love about hospitality. So,
Well, I had somebody ask me the other day about why do you do what you do? Because basically I'm offering a free session. You get on a call with me, and I'm going to spend usually 45 minutes to an hour, and we're going to dig into what you want, what you uh, have right now, what's holding you back. We'll hit maybe some of the low-hanging fruit, and then I'll give you some ideas on next steps to build that momentum, which may include working with me, it may not. And so she asked me, "Why do you do this?" And I said, "Because it's so amazing to get feedback that I'm having an impact." And Lucy, I don't know if you know this. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. I live in
with good
Indiana.
hair.
Thank you so much. But I'm just doing what finally it took a few years. And to be fair, I had pockets of time over the course of my career where I didn't realize that I was doing this, but I was doing what lit me up. My wife told me a few years ago, she heard a podcast with a life coach and she said, "Oh, you would be good at that." And I thought, that's what I love doing. That was the first time I really realized that's the part of my job that I love the most is the coaching, the developing,
Right.
the mentoring. And I didn't know at the time that I could have that as my job. I get to have, so when I was at my last job, I had those experiences with my team, with the people in my circle, my peer group, my employees, etc. And now because of the magic of social media, I have literally a worldwide audience that I had no idea that I had the potential to have that kind of an impact. And so just not to make a big deal of it, but this week I had a conversation with somebody in Spain, and I had another conversation with somebody um, in I think last week was Egypt, and this week I had United Arab Emirates and somebody else in Qatar, and um, conversation with somebody in South Africa and around the world. It blows my mind, of course. And one of the one of my favorite ones. I had somebody who reached out to me on TikTok and said, "Hey, I would love to connect. I'd love to chat." And so I just asked what time zone.
Right.
And he said, "I'm Eastern time. I'm south side of Indianapolis." I'm the north side of Indianapolis. I said, "We should
There
get
we
together for
go.
lunch." And so
That's cool.
from literal almost neighbors to opposite side of the planet. And to back to your point, having that opportunity to have an impact doing something you love, why wouldn't anybody want to do that?
Yeah.
And the only reason I imagine that they don't is they just don't know it's possible.
Yeah. And I think like in the hospitality industry, it is it's where a lot of people start out. It's their first job,
Yeah.
often is in hospitality. And there's so many things, tiny habits, back to tiny challenges, tiny habits, so many things you can learn when you're young about hospitality and good habits that are going to serve you in whatever career, whether it's at a regular job or, running your own business. It's like so invaluable. And they there's so many jobs in hospitality, so many different ways. And I just feel very lucky to have kind of fallen into it, shall we say. So
Love it. So there's a I was just as you were talking about that, I had a kind of a flashback to an experience I had several years ago. I grew up in California, and I know you live in California, and so I suspect this'll I'll be able to make my point. It's going to come back to actually what we're talking about. But shortly after I moved to Indiana, there was a movie that came out. The movie was called Twister, and the movie Twister is about tornadoes. Indiana
right.
has tornadoes. In fact, recently we had some severe storms and there were high winds and some damage and things like that. So what I realized was I was terrified of tornadoes because I grew up in California. We don't have tornadoes in
We don't have
California.
to, yeah, but so many people that visit me are scared of earthquakes because
Exactly.
they've never experienced one.
So as I'm talking to my friends about the panic that I'm feeling about the potential for a tornado, they feel the same way about earthquakes. And I said, earthquakes,
Absolutely.
that's nothing. I've been through a 4 point, that's you barely feel a 4.0
Right.
earthquake and a 5.6.8, I think was the strongest I've been in. And it's just, you just kind of roll with it.
I was just saying, when I was a kid, I remember, you'd wake up, you'd go, "Oh, we're having an earthquake," and then just go back to sleep. I mean, it's just like, the bed shaking, like,
Well,
anyway. Of
and
course,
as
since then, some more dramatic ones have happened,
right.
but
Well, and as I was growing up, we kind of would uh you couldn't always tell if you were moving around a lot. And so we had a hanging lamp in the kitchen and we would look at that. That was
and on my
our
end, you're
gauge.
frozen. So,
Well, you're frozen on my end. So I don't know if I don't know if it's my internet or your internet. We'll pause for a second and we may have to make some adjustments.
hello,
I'm back.
you're back.
So we'll see. So I'll do something. Yeah,
We can edit that a bit, I
my
guess.
internet it looks like
I said I on my end it said maybe this is because of a tornado.
well, I don't know. So long boring story. My internet went out and that was Xfinity, and it was going to take them a month, not a month, a week to come out and repair it. And so I ordered AT&T. So now I have both Xfinity and AT&T, right? I'm connected to Xfinity.
Right.
That went out, or not Xfinity. I'm connected to AT&T. AT&T went out. Xfinity is still strong, and so, but it looks like we're good there. So,
Yeah.
anyways, well, I'll see how I can put this together. But the thing that was interesting is that the I grew up experiencing earthquakes on a regular enough a basis that it was not terrifying to me. And my wife grew up experiencing tornadoes, tornado warning sirens, and things like that, enough that it was not terrifying to her to go
Right.
through a tornado. And by the way, a tornado you can predict
Right.
because there are signs.
Earthquakes are
Earthquake,
just
you
like
can't. But the safety measures are the same. You hop under your desk and get under something stable and cover your face and cover your neck. And so the point of that story is that somebody like you who has lived your whole life where entrepreneurship is just that's just the way that it is.
Yes.
Why would you think to put your career, your life in somebody else's hands? And then somebody like me who spent my whole career, my life putting it into somebody else's hands, that was a really huge hurdle that I had to overcome. That what do I do? How can I make money? How can I take care of insurance and all this stuff? And so that's a real challenge. So how do you
Yeah.
overcome
I
that?
mean, it's just a difference that I think there are, I mean, it's back to hospitality, like, and entrepreneurship both. I think there are people that are a, a little more either how they grew up or whatever are naturally a little more suited towards it or attracted to it. But like with hospitality, it's a learned thing as well. You can learn it and you can practice it and you can, that it's not something that it can't be. But I want to tell you a quick story about careers.
Yeah.
So after business school and after I went to Scotland to be with my future husband, and finally I had to like decide about the real job after. So I went to work at a big eight accounting firm. I was on the consulting side, and they do a lot of training, which is really good and all that stuff. But then I can remember the partner that was, my boss. He brought me in his office and he said, I think I was about 27. I think he said, yeah, if you play your cards right and do well, you could be partner in 13 years. And I'm like, 13? I mean, I didn't say it out loud, but I'm like, 13 years, I'll be 40, like I was just like it's like then I mean I think almost immediately I went home and said, okay, what business am I gonna start? I was
Right.
like, oh, it's like
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I've had to unravel for myself is this idea because and this is taught in school that and then it's ingrained, especially if you take that traditional route. You trade your time for money.
right.
You go in and you work minimum wage. You work $20 an hour, $30 an hour, maybe get a raise, it's $50 an hour, but you're still trading your time for money, which means that you have a limited resource, your time, that you're giving up in order to earn what really is an unlimited resource. You're always going to be the short end of that deal.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who's in one of my mastermind groups, and her son-in-law is a consultant, like big time consultant, 500,000 a year type thing. He has his own company because for some reason he cannot handle it. Like, what? Like he wants to work for somebody else so
Right.
bad. It's like, I mean, he's super unhappy, all this stuff. So, that's where I go, okay, I guess some people, I mean, I just, I can't fathom a bit, but anyway. So I want to tell you about one other. So I have a entrepreneur group that I work with every other week to keep everybody on track with their goals, just
Mhm.
like you do, Ken. But anyway, one of my one of this young man, he graduated from high school and he heard about me because he wants to be own a bed and breakfast. He has a specific specific property that he wants and all the stuff, and he's 17 now. I think he's either 18 or 19. Anyway, he was a top-notch student, all this stuff, and he didn't go to college. He hasn't gone to college. He's learning to be an electrician so he can, fix things at his inn. He's learned how to make ice cream by himself. He just is exploring everything. And I come from a family where, yeah, go to school, go to college, and I just told him, I said, you're one of the first young people I've got to say, yeah, you don't have to do that. You can, he's just going for it. And I'm sure he'll have his business with by the time he's 25, probably. So it's amazing.
Yeah. So when you think about um, your experience, your hospitality journey, um, at what point did you realize or did you decide that doing your own thing was the way you wanted to go instead of pursuing something like a hotel management degree or something that would put you in a traditional career?
Yeah, I was very young. Like I said, I think part of it was that the kind of regular jobs I had, my very first real job, as I call it, was with a family-owned bakery, and then the family-owned, and so I have a big appreciation for family-owned businesses,
Yeah.
and uh, once I got into having my own business, although, it's terrifying on many levels, but I can't. I went when I turned 40, I went to Disney World for 9 days, never left the Disney property. I love how, everything about, even though they're very rigid and all that stuff, they know how to do it. They do it right.
They give you an experience.
Yeah. So my friend said to me, "Oh, Lucy, when you retire, you could run this hotel." And I'm like, "No, when I retire, I want to be like a desk clerk where I don't have to think." I mean, that's the flip side of having your own business is you got to, it's 24/7. It's not, but it's your baby and you got to pay attention to it all the time. You can't go home at 5 and just turn it off necessarily. I think people do structure it so they can, but yeah, I just never, I think also that you could be partner in 13 years also put me off too. It's like,
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
anyway, it just the whole, it just never, I mean, even when I was a kid, I was out selling seeds and, I just want my own business.
Yeah.
I think I've wanted it since I was very young. So I didn't really consider it, I don't think. So,
So what have you done? Have you ever had the fears that we talked about that a lot of people have moving from traditional employment to entrepreneurship, the health insurance or whatever it is? Have you ever had that, or have you just been in it so long that it's not been a factor?
well, like I said, we had a business failure and that, you know, it's interesting because even then, the thought of just getting a regular job, it wasn't, it was never enough opportunity for the kind of earning income that I wanted. Um, and when you have your own business, you may not make a lot of money, but you can organize it the way that fits for you, and you learn so much. I mean, um, yeah, I've forgotten the question now.
Did you ever deal with fear? And I want to
Fear.
talk
Oh
about
yeah.
the
I mean,
about that
when
business
that
failure too.
business failure, it took me years to get over that. I mean, I had, people knocking at the door,
Mm,
creditors, all that. It was, I should have declared bankruptcy, but morally, I just couldn't, I just didn't think that was right.
right.
So, I wanted to pay everybody back all the money I owed. But there's a reason bankruptcy's there as an option. So, but yeah, I mean, you wake up and you realize, oh, I'll tell you, like, as an auctioneer, back to some of the challenges you and I have talked about in different coaching calls, with, so I was, as I said, I'm an auctioneer. So there's a function that I was the auctioneer for many years called Catwalk for a Cure. And it's a big fashion show with, the firefighters have, anyway, it's a huge fundraiser for cancer. And so they have a live auction part. and it's about 300 people. And I was up there. They were there was a radio personality with me this one year. It was not the regular person that I usually did it with, and he was supposed to help me. And I mean, and he's a big personality. Anyway, he wasn't helping me, and I was kind of losing control of this thing. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. Like, and then I realized, no, I have to. I mean, I think that's like, as an entrepreneur, it's like, no, there's no choice. These people, they've spent the whole year for this, and there's five more items, and I've got to, you know, and so I think that turning on a dime and realizing, yep, I can do this. And I have, not only can I have to, when it's your own thing. I think sometimes when you work for a company, you might feel like, well, it doesn't matter because it's not my company. I don't know. So
Yeah.
it's just a
So,
time when I had really big doubts and really big, like, and it's like, no, I don't have a choice. I can't run out the door.
right.
So I
So
just,
what would you say? What advice would you have for somebody who is using that potential for business failure or that fear of what do I do about insurance as a reason that they can't or won't consider anything but traditional employment? And entrepreneurship is not right for everybody. But
no, it isn't. I think that to your coaching that I know you do, people sh sh should figure out how they can make the leap to whatever it is they want to do, whether it's a different job, a different career, starting their own business, whatever it is, making a big change in your life. You kind of have to plan it out. And I mean, that's better if you do rather than, just walking away or getting mad and walking away.
yeah,
Set it up for your own success. But then, what else are we here on earth to do other than live out, our best selves? And if there's something, if you're unhappy, then your family's unhappy. I mean, it's like seeking not happiness like in terms of money or whatever, but just true, like living your life the way you are meant to is so important. And whether it's,
right.
you know, whether it's in a new job, in a new career, a new direction, it's like do it just like I'm following your advice, just the only thing holding you back is your own self.
Yeah,
So it's just take the leap. There's nothing more joyous either in life
that's
than
true.
living out your own purpose. So yeah.
It's fun. Well, I appreciate the wisdom, and it's been
Thank
fun.
you.
I had no idea you were an auctioneer. I don't know how I did not know that for
I don't talk about it that much. So, but yeah, it's a
well,
fun.
now I
It's I went to when I went to business school, it was 125 men and 14 women. I had a great time.
I bet.
St. Joseph, Missouri. So anyway,
Sweet. Well, very good. Well, if people want to learn more about your hospitality insights or whatever, what's the best way for them to
follow
connect with
me
you?
on social, Lucy_hospitality. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, all the places.
Cool.
And then, if you want to talk further, you can DM me from there.
Sweet. Sounds great. Well, thanks a lot for taking some time and talking about um, possibilities, possibilities that exist beyond the crappy job.
The crappy job. No need. I mean, someone's got to do it, but
Right.
my goal is to make people happy in
Yes,
that.
it doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
Let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I love that. Thanks a lot for
Thanks.
being here. And everybody else, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.